Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Oh, I caught you off guard there, didn't I?
I looked and I turned. We're on.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, folks. Welcome. Welcome to December 19th, 2000 and what is this, 14?
Actually, it's the 18th. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, it is.
Tomorrow's the 19th.
Tomorrow's the 19th. Doggone it. See
Oi,
there.
oi,
No matter
oi.
how hard I try, it's just, slugging along. But
I have to do one quick shout out, and I've screwed up the last name, so I'm just going to say hi to Pastor Al at Temple Bethel. I met him yesterday, longtime listener, and I was in someone's office talking, and then they introduced me. He goes, "Oh my God, you're Jill and Kelly. Jill and Kelly. I listen to you every day." And then I'd be laughing. He goes, "It's so weird to sit here and listen to you laugh. It's like listening to you on the show."
that's Pastor Al of Bethel Temple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or Temple Bethel. What is it? Bethel Temple?
Bethel Temple.
Bethel
Yes.
Temple. Sorry. And his name is, and I left the card in my car. I had to write
way
it down.
To go, Jill.
So I'm sorry, but you got your shout out, and it was
So
it was
unprepared.
nice to meet a listener. Well, usually I do write it down, but I was running a little late.
Well, hey,
Thought I had all the time in the world.
I can't talk because I
Yeah.
am so horrible with names.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have a guest here, and I will say their name several times, and then it comes up to the 14th time to say their name, and it just it escapes me.
You know what's bad is that I used to really be able to remember faces and names. I prided myself on it, but now between the radio show and I've done so many cooking classes and lectures, whatever, I'm done. I can't. Even if they've been on the show before, I'll be like, "You look familiar."
Yeah.
Like, I was on your show 3 times. What?
I ran into a gentleman the other day that happened.
Please don't take it personally, people. No, it's just too much. People come, go. It's hard.
I know it is.
Anyway, but we love you all.
And of course, the older we get, the more difficult it becomes.
Every day we're a day older.
I jokingly say that my wife has to wear a name tag for me,
Yeah.
and I'm really not kidding.
I'm about to. Good
So
morning,
anyway, yes,
and you
indeed.
are. Why are you
Yeah.
in my studio? Get out of my studio!
Hey, we got Sergeant Dennis Pullen coming in at 8:30. Talk about police stuff. I wanted to talk to him today, and he's going to have something to say about how a lot of the new lights on cars nowadays are brighter.
Yeah, they're weird.
Yeah, and
Have you seen those?
I have, and they're brighter, and they
affect
it's
my
almost,
eyes.
It's almost like they don't dim, but they do. And,
Yeah.
And then there are some who they got these real tall trucks,
Yeah.
and after they get them, they put these big tires on them, and then that raises the headlights, but they don't readjust the headlights.
No.
And so you're going down the road, and it looks like they're coming at you with their lights on bright, so you're flashing their lights. You're flashing your lights, and then they start flashing their lights. And,
Well, what's up with the lights that look weird now too? They look
the blue ones?
Yes.
Yeah, those are
What
a
is
new.
that?
I don't know if they're LED or what they are. They're just a new type of. I mean, they look cool, but
not when
they're
you're
very
driving.
bright. Anyway, we're going to be talking to
Why
Sergeant
talk
Pullen
about it? We
that.
just talked about it. Sergeant Pullen, we don't need you now. Next.
Next, we'll have Rebecca Milsoika from the Twin Falls City Council.
That's right.
But she'll be talking about.
Well, she wanted to come on and talk about, what happened Monday night and URA stuff, and
Oh, okay.
I'm starting to blank out stuff, so I'm like, sure,
Okay.
And then we have, who is Randy Quigley?
Randy Quigley is a
Pumping documentary. Are we allowed to say this? How many days do you have left? It's like, peace out, FCC. What's going on?
Oh, he's produced a documentary of this area and the high lift pumping of water up onto
water.
to turning unused ground into producing ground, and like I said yesterday, a lot of people don't realize that this is kind of a
Miracle.
unique area of the world, the way we do our water and everything, and we use it to grow food. And he's produced a documentary on that's being broadcast locally. So thought, it'd be kind of fun to talk to him about
That's
that.
interesting. I mean, that's how Israel's done it. I mean, they live in a desert. They grow so much, but they've done the same thing.
Yes.
You have to get water to dry spots. And in a desert, how do you grow things? You can't grow
Right.
without water.
Really, when you stop and think about it, the pioneers like I.B. Perrine and many of the pioneers that started this area back in the earliest of the 1900s were visionaries and geniuses. I mean, they designed the canal system.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that would be a huge feat even by today's standards.
Can you imagine the guy who came up with the first thing? Go, I got an idea. Yeah. How about if we dig all these canals and then we just run the water through? They're like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, it's not like the first time you're like, oh, yeah.
It would be like, man, are you crazy?
Who's digging it all?
Yes.
Get your shovel, IB.
That's
you know what
it.
I mean? Like, come on.
And the canals, they have to be larger at the source, and then as they go down the tube there a ways, then you got to make them smaller and smaller. So how do you know how small to make? I mean, they were geniuses.
Are you with me? They're like, no, I don't have a shovel.
Right.
I got something else to do.
Yeah, I got to go wash my socks.
Make beef jerky or something.
So anyway,
we want to eat.
It's just
amazing.
It's
crazy.
Yeah,
it's
they
crazy.
were very much geniuses back in those days.
Even to travel out here in those hard wagons, gosh.
We complain when we have to drive a few hundred miles in a nice, comfortable new vehicle.
Yeah.
And those people, when they had the covered wagons, and there was no motels along the way.
Not even a cushion. I don't even think they created cushions back then, did they?
I know. So anyway, I don't know how we got off on that.
What are we doing?
But we do have a caller. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Well,
hi, Kyle.
there.
Hey, Kelly, I think the funniest part is that they did it with crude equipment.
Yes.
And it takes us longer today to get through the red tape just so we can fire up the diesel equipment.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they didn't have all the government red tape back then. Well, an example I've always referred to is Twin Falls. Now, they covered up one of the falls on Twin Falls in order to put in the power plant back in the early whenever they did that. Mm-hmm. We would play heck doing that today. There would be no way that the environmentalists and the EPA and the this and the that and the other would let us do something like that.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like back in the day, Hoover Dam, all the things that,
Hoover Dam.
But, those were geniuses, too. I mean,
exactly.
Really, the stuff, how they created, heating up the concrete because it would take a year to cure. I mean, amazing stuff.
I know.
That's an amazing tour if you haven't been there. Have you been there?
Yeah, the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
I was there. I wasn't on the tour. It was just kind of looking at it,
No, you got to do the tour.
Seems like I did do a tour, but it was many, many years ago, and I don't remember any names.
I just remember I don't even know if I was there. I just remember being in this room, and, they take the tour, and then they show you on the map. They're like, you're here, like 700 feet down, and you're over. Yeah. You're in this room over with a window. You can see it over a 2-mile wide pipe. And I looked at Tom. I go, I didn't have claustrophobia, but I think I just got it.
Yeah.
Like, it freaked me out.
I know.
But anyway, so we digress.
We do. So
we're going to talk about the movies.
We do. Yeah, the movies. So we lost. I mean, how do the headlines look? And in fact, I made the headline this morning.
What was it?
On our website promoting Top Story that North Korea 1, United States 0. Mm-hmm. Because we lost a war to the funny little fat guy who runs North Korea with a ridiculous haircut. We lost a war to him.
Well, actually, it should be North Korea 1, Sony 0. You know what? It was really affecting Sony. And the thing of it is they decided they're not releasing it anywhere. Christmas Day is probably one of the biggest movie days and they didn't want people not to go see, I don't know, Into the Woods or all our other movies. And then I heard that some theater people said, well, Sony really wasn't promoting the movie anyway. They didn't think it was going to be that good anyway. So why cut your sales to the other films when this one is sort of a mediocre comedy, which, I mean, come on, you see the best parts in the clips.
Sure.
But it's not going to be released on DVD or anything. So, and it cost them $42 million to make.
It was a huge loss to Sony, and frankly, it is still a huge loss to America because
what do you think you should do?
We kowtowed to a ridiculous little what do I want to say?
I'm not
dictator,
sure.
A ridiculous little dictator who looks funny, out there in North Korea. And it makes us look ridiculous because we did that. It makes Sony look ridiculous. And I know it's easy to, play Monday morning quarterback. Well, if I was the head of Sony, I'd have just gone ahead and did it. But, frankly, I think if I had been the head of Sony, I think I would have gone ahead and did it. I think they were bluffing. I don't think that North Korea has the ability. I mean, they can barely shoot a missile out into the ocean. And when they do that, they have a hard time hitting the ocean.
Yet their hackers, their bureau, what was it, 121 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, why didn't we just send Dennis Rodman over and go, look it, dude, come on,
go.
It's a movie.
See? Absolutely.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, where was our North Korean ambassador to the U.S., Mr. Dennis Rodman, when we need him?
Try getting another piercing or something.
Crying out loud.
Tattoo, I mean, this is a tough one. This is what companies deal with. A lot of times, you have to see perception against reality, against sales. If people were even in the slightest bit worried, like in New York, when they mentioned, throw in 9/11 and that just sends chills up people's spines.
Yeah, I know.
And then God forbid, there was an attack. Oh my goodness. So, I mean, they're saying, hey, are the ticket sales worth it? No, they want to make money. They just lost $42 million. Well, companies have to decide this all the time.
If they go beyond this and eventually release that movie, it'll probably break all kinds of records because people will want to see it.
They said it's not going to be released on DVD and the other VO something. And I don't know. What should we have done? Should they have done it or not?
7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. This morning before I left, one of the headlines on CBS News was saying that there was a hacker on there claiming that there's a good chance that the Chinese weren't even involved. I wonder if anybody else saw the rest of that clip. And Sony's talking about losing hundreds of millions of dollars over this.
Oh,
well,
and
then also, I think the North Koreans are denying well, of course they would. I think the North Koreans are denying that they had anything to do with it.
But I think we found a connection to North Korea in there. I think, was it Bureau 21 or 121 or something? Bureau 21 is their secret hacking department.
Yeah, I don't know. 7360300, top story. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hello?
We can't hear him. Yeah.
You're on the air.
You're on the air.
Just digress a little bit. When you were speaking about our founding fathers in Twin Falls, Kelly, I know you mentioned where they dammed up Twin Falls, and I just wanted to share, it was my great-grandfather who painted the actual Twin Falls city emblem, and he walked down to Devil's Corral with his easel and canvas before it was ever concreted up.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, sir. His name was Rulon John Schwendeman, and he also helped the Perrines build Blue Lakes Country Club.
Wow.
Oh, for heaven's sake. So your roots go back a long ways. We have a Twin Falls picture.
Yeah, we do.
A Bisbee photo here in our studio. We'll have to put that on the video. Welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. Hey, we talk all the time about Mr. Pat Hartzell of Stanley and Company. Sometime we should just pick up the phone and call him, and say, "Hi, Pat, this is Kelly and Jill. How you doing?"
How you doing, Pat?
Well, might have to do that sometime before the end of the year.
We left a message for Dave once. I don't know if he ever quite calls back. He's probably mortified.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, Pat handles the Low and Honey Loader from Stanley and Company. You've heard us talking about that, how it handles manure on your feedlot. And if you want to see one of these in operation, maybe you want to buy one, maybe you've got questions about them, Pat's the guy, 280-1167. If you want to see one in operation, Pat's the guy. He can set you up an appointment to see one of these in operation, 280-1167. So just call Pat. Tell him that Kelly and Jill sent you.
Definitely.
Well, we're talking about this Sony issue. We've also got the issue with Cuba lifting the embargo there, although that has to go through Congress yet. But that's quite a story in itself. But we've got a caller on.
Yeah.
So, top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the other day I called on this Sony issue, and then a caller right after me said that I was a summer patriot. who went home and wouldn't fight when the winter came.
Is that
and
true?
Actually, I don't think this is much of a fight, a stupid movie. If you look at Greta Van Sustern's tweets, she did about 10 of them on how stupid of them it was to make this movie in the first place. It's like you take a wasp nest and you're just poking a stick at it and doing nothing. You're just antagonizing it. If you've got wasp spray, fine. And I wanted to, because I agree with what Sony did. Just pull it. It was a dumb idea to start with. And it doesn't really do anything to alleviate the situation in North Korea. And I needed to fact check myself. I said that Danish cartoonist had been killed. He had not been killed, but he has been attacked, and he is under police watch.
Yeah.
And he is, if you remember, the most famous of his cartoons. He did a series of them for the newspaper over a few-day period. The most famous was Mohammed with a turban that looked like a bomb with a fuse on it. And so he was attacked once. The first time he was attacked, an axe-wielding man came into his house, and he went into a panic room and called the police and waited for them there while his 5-year-old granddaughter was out there with the attacker.
Stop.
No, this happened. So this is just, these people are just such good patriots themselves, are they not?
Well, I think at this point it's gone to the principle of the thing. I don't agree with what, and thank you for your input, and I think there's some good points there, but it's the principle of the thing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, here we've got this stupid little country over in North Korea, and now they're dictating of what you and I can or cannot watch on the big screen because they're intimidating the movie studios. So, I mean, that is ridiculous. But then you wonder, in itself,
where is it going to end? Is there a product they don't like? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then another company. But I don't know. I mean, it's a business call for Sony. I don't blame them for doing it because you're going to lose millions. Some people would be like, I'm not going on Christmas Day because that movie's playing at the same theater or Frozen's playing it. It's a business decision, and their stock's already dropped.
Well, the terrorists have won. We have that attitude. Well, we're not going to do this because they might blow something. The terrorists have won.
But what do you do? That's a tough call.
We roll over and play dead, I guess, because they won.
Well, it's easy for you to say because you're not on Sony's board and the stock's dropping. It's a business decision, and you have to look at it and go, hey, those are tough decisions. What do you do that's best?
736-0300, top story. You're on the air.
The only thing that I've been kind of wondering for a while, and now that this hacking has kind of been pinned on North Korea, and also the fact that we know that China and North Korea they're pretty good buddy buds.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I've wondered how they can get into it so easily into our systems.
Yeah.
And China, I know, has been one of the big hacking perpetrators. Is where is all of our computer equipment, the hardware actually manufactured? Most of it in China.
Yeah.
And I wonder how hard would it be to embed software in some of this hardware
That's true.
that we know nothing about, and all we got to do is,
actually,
send the trigger.
You're absolutely right, and actually that has been considered in the past, because I remember seeing articles about that, and I have thought about that myself, but it is kind of amazing to me when you can, when it seems like they can get into our stuff so easily.
Yeah.
When sometimes I can't even get into my bank after 3 tries. And I have to call the bank and I say, hey, I tried 3 times to get into my account. Now it's locked me out and I have to call you people.
Now what?
Okay, I don't get this. The North Koreans, the Chinese can get into our government computers and I can't get into my bank. This is ridiculous.
And you're the chief engineer,
For crying
Kelly.
out loud.
Goodness.
We'll be right back with Sergeant Dennis Pullen from the Twin Falls Police Department. I think we're back. Is this thing working? Hello.
Yeah.
736-0300, the number to call here on Top Story. I have to say, I guess I better.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing?
Getting things out of place here. We have Sergeant Dennis Pullen with us from the Staff Sergeant, isn't it?
Staff Sergeant, yes.
Dennis Pullen from the Twin Falls Police Department. You'd think after all this time I would, just automatically know that, but
He doesn't.
That's okay.
I forget a lot of stuff.
I answer to anything.
Yeah, I hear you. Just don't call you late for lunch.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, first I want to say, and for those who are watching who watch the video later,
right.
I have a gift that Officer Pullen brought to me on behalf of Twin Falls Police Department. It's a nice TFPD hat.
Nice.
And I'm wearing it now. I don't know if you can see me or not, but you can see it on the camera.
Kelly
So when you
wanted
watch
the badge too, so you could pull people over. Thank goodness.
I already got the gun, so I just need a badge now.
I know. He was wise not to bring it.
Sergeant Pullen's going, oh, shut up. Anyway, it's Christmas time, busy out there.
The holiday season is here. Quickly, we have, a week?
I know. Can you believe that? A week from today.
I just happen to think I got to get my grandkids' stuff in the mail for Montana.
Oh, geez.
You better get on that.
I know.
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody, obviously the weekend's coming up in a couple of days. Probably going to be a very busy time shopping. And some of the things we always deal with on the police side of it is the traffic will be unbelievable, especially on Blue Lakes Boulevard and around the mall and other areas like that. So just be patient. Just know ahead of time that it's going to take you a while to get there. Don't take any chances. And another point we want to make is when you're shopping, if you're going from store to store and you're putting packages or items in your car, out of sight, out of mind. We don't want people breaking the windows to steal whatever you have in there. Keep them in the trunk or cover them up or something. So if somebody is out looking to break into a car, they're not going to be enticed by seeing a nice TV or Xbox or something in the back seat. So make sure you
or your purse in the front seat.
Or your purse, yeah.
Even if you go to the gym, they might leave their purse on the front seat.
Or leave it in the shopping cart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think we've
That's
talked
always a
about
good
that
one.
before.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, I talked to you earlier about, and we talked a little bit about it this morning, about people dimming lights, but a lot of the lights on some of these new vehicles are brighter than they used to be, and some of them appear like they're too bright.
Yeah, they can only be so many candle power. And it's really hard to determine what that is. I know when you're driving, especially out of town on the highway or on country roads, people need to be aware when they're driving if they have their headlights on bright. And some people forget. I mean, I do from time to time. People will flash when I realize I forgot to dim my lights. But you need to be dimming your lights about 500 feet.
Maybe they're warning you that a cop's coming.
Yeah, that could be. You never know. About 500 feet, you need to be dimming your lights before you approach a vehicle.
At least.
So a couple football fields to be safe.
What about those weird lights? I see like these weird
like
blue lights that
ones.
kind of hit your eyes weird.
They do. And I don't like those.
I don't
have
either.
probably because of my age, I have a hard time seeing at night when I'm driving, but they are hard to see when you're coming up on a vehicle like that. So yeah, dim your lights. Be aware of that. And I think we talked on the phone the other day, if you have a vehicle and you've raised the suspension on it, these four-wheel drive pickups, you have to adjust your headlights to be lower.
Yeah.
So they've got it's confusing. The code is, but basically, when your high beams are on, according to the code, they shouldn't hit the pavement beyond 75 feet from the vehicle.
Ah, okay, that's a good rule.
The way I understand the code, like I say, it's
some of the
very
suspension
confusing.
that raises these like 6 inches or a foot sometimes. I mean, that really raises it. And you come over a hill, and all of a sudden you're blinded, and they've got them on dim.
So how they lower it? They have to take it to a shop and do it, or can you do it?
I've never
yourself?
done it on a new vehicle. I'm sure they're like the older ones, but you can. The older vehicles
have an adjusting screw. Yeah,
have screws. Just take a screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver. You can turn them left and right a little bit and adjust them up and down.
I don't know if you can still do that because my son the
know.
other day said he was trying to replace a bulb in his headlight and he had to take the whole front end of the car off to get to it. So
one more reason I love my 2001 Ford Escape.
Older vehicles are easy to work on.
Yes,
they are.
Yes, they are.
Anything else we got?
In the city limits, you cannot drive at all with your headlights on bright.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Even if there's nobody coming.
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But in the county, like if no one's driving, but because you see deer a lot, especially on Orchard Road. So I do put mine up, but that's the county. Of course, that's the road I got nailed for going 7 miles under the speed limit. Because there are animals out there. I don't want to hit the deer going 50 miles an hour.
She's never going to get over that.
How could
probably
I?
Not.
But anyway, that's fine to do, right? When you're by yourself, you can in the county.
You can leave
anywhere.
one right then.
Yeah, anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, and
All
there's
right.
places, deer. I
There
deal
are
with
deer.
that every night.
Once you
when I
hit the
go
city
home.
limits, so they got to go on dim. I
gotta
didn't
be
know
on
that.
dim.
I didn't know that.
'cause
And that's why we have you on.
Yeah,
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
I'm full of knowledge.
You are.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Hey,
Thank
you be safe out there, and Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
hat.
You're quite
Oh,
welcome.
he's
All
now all
right.
full of himself.
Yeah.
It's going to be
You're
hard to
official.
work. Can I have the taser now?
Yes.
Well, we're back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And, the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment have chainsaws.
Chainsaws.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm gonna stick my foot in my mouth here again and be kind of sexist, but, probably most of the people today who want a chainsaw are men. I'm just saying. Then
Sexist.
There are probably a few women who would enjoy a new
Oh,
chainsaw
for goodness
also.
sakes. Just
So
promote the chainsaws. Everyone needs a chainsaw.
Whatever your preferences are, they've got the Husqvarna and Echo chainsaws at Clearwater Power Equipment.
Texas needs a chainsaw. Wasn't the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Idaho Chainsaw. Anyway.
Texas already has a chainsaw.
We needed one. Anyway, everyone can use
But
one.
at any rate, yeah, because cutting firewood, trimming up trees, there's just a lot of things you can do with a chainsaw, and they've got them for you at Clearwater Power Equipment, 252 Washington Street, 734-7767. Stop in and tell them that Kelly and Jill
That's
told
right.
you to stop by.
Absolutely.
Twin Falls City Council person Rebecca Milsoika with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Jill. Good morning, Kelly.
So,
What? Thanks for coming in.
well, right.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You wanted to. Yeah. You wanted to come on. You had some issues with some of the URA things and what happened Monday night, and
Sure. Well, I just, everybody has a different perspective, but I just wanted to.
that's right. You were a different perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to share kind of a different perspective. Monday night, I think for me, all of my questions couldn't be answered about the banner building, and so that's why I wasn't able to really throw my support behind that selection. Especially regarding a lot of the proponents on the committee were talking about this plaza where the Rogerson is now.
Right.
And so some of my questions were, how much is that going to cost? You really have to count that in, and who's going to pay for it? And no one could really say, how much that would cost or who would pay for it. So, if it's integral to that location, I think the taxpayers need to know that.
Okay.
All right.
And I was at a actually it was a URA open meeting. I think it was URA I guess it was, talking about the water and sewer lines, and there was a concern how it originally said 16.9 million they were going to redo all of Main Street and I think 13 different projects, but that's not the case now.
Well, I actually sat on the Downtown Infrastructure Committee, and the URA does have a finite amount of funds for their downtown project. And so there were originally, I think, 10 or so proposed projects. We could only choose about 6 or 7 before the budget was taken up, all 16.9 million. And those are projects that, the whole, the Main Street rebuild is really focused around getting the necessary capacity and the newer infrastructure to downtown so that they can attract businesses. And without those projects, you can't see those businesses relocate to Main Street because they don't have the infrastructure that they need. And some of these projects are not exactly on Main Street, but they're within the district or they feed the district with water or sewer. So they're vital. So my concern was, every dollar that goes to City Hall or a City Hall related project is going to decrease the amount of money that can be spent on downtown projects.
Okay. So that leaves us where then? So that means the money that will be used to renovate the banner building for City Hall, is that money going to be taken away from some of the projects that we can do?
No, so the renovation of City Hall, the $4.5 million, that's city dollars, and
Okay.
so there was the facts that we were presented with on Monday night. I mean, we knew that the city general reserves will be used to remodel the police and the current City Hall. And then it will also be used for the renovation of the banner itself. But I think something that wasn't clear is really the assessment of utilities feeding the banner. Where are they at? And OTAC hasn't come back with their final report on parking or on infrastructure. So we don't know which projects are going to make the cut for the upgrades. What costs will be left for the city to pay? We don't know.
But you were saying that the Rogerson building, would they pay for that? $450,000?
Yeah, almost $500,000. And so of
that's
course
taken out of URA money.
Right. So they only have that amount that they have for that TIF district. And so, yeah, that's down by $450,000 now. And then whatever it takes to remove that, I know they have some asbestos or some other issues with that building. They're going to have to remove it, relocate. Yeah, I did hear that as well. Relocate a water line. I think a water main runs through the Rogerson building. And so, yeah, all of that money, it just, so that's really the reason why I wanted to hear from the public, because this is a huge purchase. I mean, when you're spending half of all of your available reserves on one project, I think it's kind of part of our due diligence to ask the public and solicit them for their opinions. And, we did have a committee, but not everyone can come to a committee. Not everyone has the luxury of leaving work in the middle of the day. Some people work night shift. And that's why I'm a fan of diversifying kind of our avenues that we use to collect citizen input. Online surveys, public hearings, kind of doing several different avenues so that people can still participate.
Because you made a motion for a public hearing on that, and it wasn't seconded.
It didn't, unfortunately, didn't go anywhere. And that's okay. A lot of the council, I guess the rest of the council felt like they knew, they already knew which direction to go, and then they had already made up their mind, and so they wanted to act that night. I did want to wait. I did want to let people know because this meeting wasn't publicized or advertised. It was just a regular meeting. Very few people probably check our website for what's on our agenda. It wasn't even in the paper that day. Yeah. But also, people who can't attend a meeting, that doesn't mean they don't care. And It doesn't mean that their opinion is less valuable. And so, I just think it's good to make sure that we're giving everyone an opportunity.
I want to, you kind of touched on something there that as far as people not knowing, back before the days of the internet and such, information was a lot more difficult to find. And I think we have to realize sometimes if people are interested in something, they can't use the excuse that, gee, I hadn't heard about that. Because if they are really interested in an issue and they are pursuing it, my hat's off to the city of Twin Falls because they really do have a lot of information on their website. And if you want to find out about it, it's kind of a click away. So what I'm saying, I guess, is if you are interested in any project that's going on, be more aggressive and try to find out the information. Keep up with the stuff, too.
Oh, sure. So. And I don't think people don't have the information. I don't think people don't know about it. I think they weren't invited to speak. I mean, and as we found out at one of the committee meetings, sometimes you're allowed to speak and sometimes you're not. It's all up to the chairman. And people didn't know that there would be an opportunity for public input. And so I don't blame them. They didn't show up to the 5-hour meeting to see if maybe they had a chance to speak.
It was a 5-hour meeting. But also, and it's the Christmas season. People are shopping and whatever. But
sure. No, so I wouldn't dispute that. I think the city does a great job of getting that information out there. But there are different ways to give people an opportunity to provide their feedback. And the more options that you give them, the more likely they are to respond because someone, we have a lot of just regular workers. I mean, 60% of our community, according to the census, are just regular working class folks. And so, like my husband, shift work, he works nights. So can he come to a meeting at noon? No. Does he care? Yes. And I mean, that's true for so many people. So what's really convenient is when we have a tool. We have free online surveys. It's simple, yes or no. Then you have a quantitative number you can look at. Is it statistically significant? No. But it's just another tool. It's like a public hearing. It's a way to gather the community's perspective. And whereas I'm elected to represent that perspective, I'm going to do everything that I can to hear from them and to give them a convenient option. Where they can participate. I think you would find participation up when you reach out in all those different avenues.
Well, we had Greg Lansing and Don Hall yesterday, and Greg kind of said, well, we've been looking at the banner building for a couple years now, which kind of surprised me. So I hadn't heard that. And, it almost seemed like sometimes when you deal with something for so long, you think, oh, everyone's heard of it. But really, they haven't, because how did this come about?
Yeah, and he might have heard of it for a couple of years. The first I heard of the banner proposal, it was presented to the council around May of this year. And that was about 6 or 7 months after the council or the committee on the council. I wasn't part of that decision, but whatever group turned down the clinic when the county offered that to us for probably $1 or whatever makes the contract legal, essentially a free building. But that was turned down, and we had that discussion during the strategic plan, and it was said then that, well, we're fine, and we don't have these space needs, or they're not emergent. That's what I heard. And so the first I heard of,
and it wasn't in our strategic plan, was it?
Well, it was taken out during the draft.
Taken out of the strategic plan
during the project, because I brought it up, and I said, hey, what's it says here to build a new city hall, but we just said no to the clinic, so why would we do that? But so about 6-7 months later, the concept of the banner and the Rogerson Plaza kind of came out in around May. So we haven't been dealing with it for that long, but I think you can't forget.
Who presented the idea to begin with? Like, it was just presented to you guys?
Fran Florence actually presented. I think it was his concept. But it actually was also presented in a 2000, Gary Garnand at one of the committee meetings mentioned a URA study done in 2007 or 2008. And it was kind of a similar thought, build a plaza, buy up a bunch of lots, and kind of redevelop them as you buy them. That was kind of the premise of that study.
Back as far as getting input, I know that you usually consider the Twin Falls City Council as kind of the end all as far as information, but I know we probably should have Melinda in with the URA and stuff to talk about that.
Yes,
but they are also, they have email addresses, and I would think they would be available for input from the public as well.
Yeah,
I know you
that's
can't
a good
speak
reminder.
for them, but
yes, and that's a good reminder, because even though they're not, the Urban Renewal Agency is a board that is appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. So while we have a hand, I guess, in appointing people, they're an independent board, and so we have no greater control or influence over them than a general citizen. So exactly, their names would be on the city website, and definitely contact them for any thoughts as well.
And their meetings are not open to the public, are they? They're not.
They hold public meetings. They did not adopt the same transparency resolution that we did, so they'll still have committees, that maybe aren't always notified and open to the public.
Like their steering committee is that open to the public?
They've had different committees. Some have been open, some haven't, but they don't have to follow the same transparency resolution that the city does.
So have you gotten any feedback from your constituents about the meeting Monday night?
I know that collectively we did get one letter just saying, I think they were saying, why wasn't the clinic given more consideration? They didn't feel like the banner was a good location. And of course, a lot of feedback you guys get on the radio, and you hear that, it's been interesting feedback. But I think my concern all along is also, number one, parking and accessibility.
And that's what I hear repeated. I heard
preliminary
2 or 3
results,
people yesterday. Yeah,
the preliminary results came out, but the parking study and any solutions have not been presented. The parking study is not complete, and so it's really difficult to take public lots and say, well, they're 50% used, but that's with the current condition of downtown. I don't know if we can consider that
we're about out of time.
Viable parking.
I just wanted to say, as controversial as this decision sounds, there aren't a lot of remarks about it. There is not a lot of discussion about it now, it seems like. So I don't know. Maybe it's not as big as
Well, I don't know.
You
I
would
mean,
think.
letters to the editor takes a while. You don't know what people are doing. I know there's a huge discussion on Facebook
Yeah, but
about
I mean,
it.
nobody's showing up to the meetings. It seems like you would think that
Well,
you'd have 150 people at the city council
But
meetings.
to be fair, that thing was notified Thursday or Friday for Monday, and it wasn't really. I mean, it was almost like for the committee to present. I don't know if I would have known it was a public hearing, and it wasn't a public hearing because you need a 2-week notice, correct?
Yeah, and well, we had a packed house Monday night. I mean, it was full, but I think the
It was
general
committee
public
members.
didn't know. Right, it was mostly committee members. I think
Yeah.
the general public didn't know to come.
We're out
Yeah.
of time. Rebecca, thank you. It was nice seeing you
Thank
again.
you. Thanks for
All
giving
right.
the other
Merry
point
Christmas.
of
We're
view.
going to be
Happy
talking.
Hanukkah, Jill.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. We're going to be talking about some history of the Magic Valley and high lift pumping this next hour on Top Story. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Cal. Same to you.
Sorry, I spilt my tea here a little bit.
Oh my!
I need to wipe
Let's
it
hope
up.
that's on the board. You know, the whole
No.
thing could just short out.
I know, and we just go dead in the... I was just kidding. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we're like at what, 30 degrees right now. Is it cloudy out
Oh my
there?
goodness!
It's supposed to cloud up today,
It's
according to
supposed
the
to.
weather.
Is it supposed to rain or snow? Right?
We do have some rain and snow in the forecast. Not very much.
Oh.
Probably just enough to get the windshield dirty, but at any rate, it is there.
All righty.
We have with us this morning Randy Quigley, and Randy is a past farmer from the Gooding area, and we've crossed paths a lot in the past, and I know you involved a lot with music, and you do video productions now, and you have a video and that's what we're going to talk about here this morning. What's the video about?
This is a documentary of how high lift pumping got started in Idaho on the Snake River. Of course, Idaho was originally developed with gravity irrigation from the Milner Dam to bring water through the Twin Falls Tract and into the north side. But there was a lot of premium farm ground that was still left in sagebrush about 600 feet above the canyon that was virtually undeveloped. And so
Before I just want to say, and I kind of plugged this at the beginning and also a little bit yesterday when I was talking about this, the Magic Valley area is somewhat unique by world standards. I think we have the canals, we have the high lift pumping, we have the pumping, and I don't think people around here realize that this is a very unique area in the eyes of the world. Now, am I going overboard by saying something like that?
No, and I think the valley should be touted for that. The original idea to bring this area into cultivation by diverting Snake River water was very unique at the time, and my gosh, when you look at some of those old Bisbee photos of how they blasted through the lava rock to even begin this canal process, it's just remarkable.
Yeah. We were talking about
I know,
that. How
like the guy who had the idea.
Over 100 years ago, I mean, computers weren't even most people didn't even have electricity then. They had what we would consider old archaic equipment compared to today's standards, and some of the things that they were able to do with that with such precision. I mean, building another canal system like we have today would still be a monumental task, even with the equipment that we have today.
Yes, even when you look at just their surveying equipment, how archaic it is to today's GPS standards. And yet, though, they followed those grid lines, and the water flows beautifully through the system. And
How long did it take him, Randy?
I'm not a great history on the Twin Falls Canal Company, so I can't answer that for sure. But I'm sure the construction period was over several years before they were able to divert water. And then to build the Milner Dam to dam up the water there, to divert that water out was a great feat in and of itself, too. And they really have a nice little historical monument that talks about that at Milner. If you haven't been there, it would certainly be worth a trip to go there.
And how many miles is the canal system? Do you know that?
I think it's 110, but
130 sticks in my mind, but you could be.
Could you imagine, though? I mean,
we have two canals. We have the High Line and the Low Line for the Magic Valley area, and then there's the Jerome has a canal, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and then,
the North Side Canal. And then the Gooding Milner also diverts out of there also.
Yeah. So it irrigates a huge portion of south central Idaho just out of that one dam.
Right. So when that all took place, it basically was under the Carry Act, which farmers that wanted to be farmers could file for 160 acres total between a husband and a wife. And so at that time, that was an economically viable filing.
Yeah.
But in 1955, when these grounds that were above the Snake River, around 600 feet, were looked at to begin developing, the BLM offered a filing of 640 acres for a couple, 160 acres or 320 acres each. So that really was an incentive, and the only stipulation at that time is that they had to prove viability by bringing water to the ground, and the BLM would then release that. So it's a whole different concept to develop that desert entry filing versus the Carry Act, where irrigation projects would then file for the land and then bring farmers on the ground and provide water for them. So the desert land entry actually came into being just about the right time economically, because by then you needed more ground to farm in the 50s, to make a go of it. So,
and like do today as compared to the 1950s.
Oh yeah, now we're talking thousands of acres for a farming operation to be viable.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is that in 1955, Morris Eckert, who was he had a Dodge dealer in Buell, Idaho, somehow got interested in farming and the Desert Land Entry Project, and he was able to put together a feasibility study on bringing water to desert ground just west of Buell, and engineered that project and was going to divert water out of Salmon Falls Creek, and his lift was the first high lift project, and it was about 317 feet. And so he began this project in 1955 and eventually ended up with a core group of people and put in about 5,000 acres. So that's basically the very first beginning of high lift pumping. And of course that was brought about because electricity was developed, and electric motor was developed, and the pump to pump water was developed.
Yeah.
And at that time Idaho Power had an abundance of power. Hell's Canyon was just getting ready to come online, and so they were out looking for people, to use power. So all of the kind of elements came together as Morris began to identify those lands, and he was a man well ahead of his time, because not only did he develop the Magic Waters project, which is west of Buell, but he also identified other lands that eventually became developed, like Sailor Creek and Grindstone, Black Mesa, and eventually Bell Rapids. I have a booklet of the Magic Water project that shows all of those grounds. Now, what was also really interesting was that after Twin Falls developed their project, the last person left standing thought that they could divert water at Castle Ford and bring water all the way through those same projects down Dead Man Creek to Mountain Home and then dump it back into the river.
Oh, wow.
So these lands had been identified as late as 1910, 1920 as feasible for farming. Now what's interesting is that those lands that are out west of Buell and on the south side of the river are some of the most productive lands that we have. Potatoes were a big thing when the Twin Falls tract came in, but as these high lift pumping projects began to be developed, they realized that by sprinkling the land, they didn't have to level it so much to make water run down a furrow. The potatoes actually, the quality improved and the yield improved. And it was about that time when Simplot was really kind of in his heyday, and the French fry was king. And so as each of these...
What year was that?
That was in the 50s and 60s.
So right when it started coming out with the hamburgers and the fries and things like that.
When they launched their a chain store concept to sell burgers and fries, then these new projects were developing, and as each one of them went in, the demand for French fries continued to raise, and so these projects were basically developed with potatoes originally to get them up and running.
This was kind of a perfect storm of good things, wasn't it?
Yeah, the timing was just wonderful.
Yeah, everything was being developed that they needed, almost just like a little bit ahead of them, until we have what we have today.
Yeah, and it was interesting that the BLM at that time, their agenda was that they would retain public lands until they could transfer them into private lands. And then in 1974, when the last phase of Bell Rapids was developed, BLM changed their mode of thinking and said they would retain all public lands and not develop them or release them into private ownership. So you saw a 20-year period of where BLM was anxious for people to make a desert land entry, put water on the land, and then give them the land for 25 cents an acre to in 1974
Oh my goodness.
say, no, we're not going to develop any more land. We're going to retain whatever public lands that we have.
Wow. 25 cents an acre.
That's amazing. So, Randy, what determines high lift pumping as opposed to the other? Is there a standard? Is there a high? It's like, what is the difference?
Well,
at what point does it become high lift?
Yeah.
Anything above gravity would be high lift pumping.
Okay, so that's just anything.
Yeah.
It's not a certain height.
No. So Morris Eckert started at Magic Waters at 317 feet. Bell Rapids ends up, the last project developed, around 600 feet.
Oh.
So as you get farther down the river, the canyon gets higher, and so you have to get a farther lift to come up out of the canyon to bring that water up to those fertile desert grounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
Which takes more power, costs more money.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Bell Rapids was the 6th largest customer of Idaho Power for power usage. I mean,
wow.
They had, I think, over 50,000 horsepower that they used to lift 75,000 acre-feet of water up to their project.
Goodness.
Shortly after Morris started his project, in 1962, the development switched up to Treasure Valley. At that time, the Boise-Kuna Canal system was developed back after the Twin Falls Canal Company started. But they ran out of water. By the time they got to Kuna, there wasn't enough water for some of those entries. And so there was ground that was given to those people under the Carry Act, but not much water to go to them. And Alan Noble.
So how useful is that?
Well, it wasn't. There was a problem.
Yeah, you need water, don't you?
I have some pictures in the video of these guys camped in tents, squatters almost, on their ground.
Saying, where's the water?
Yeah, where's the water?
I'm thirsty.
Show me the water.
Show me the water.
Now, is Bell Rapids, is that area still farmed?
No. In 2005, when the state of Idaho needed to have water to mitigate the Nez Perce water agreement.
Yeah.
It was a perfect fit for Bell Rapids, and they sold the water to the state, but it was an in-stream flow right, so the water stayed in the river, which made it a perfect fit for salmon recovery.
Yeah.
And the growers were able to keep their ground on top, and they eventually sold that ground to a ranching operation up there. And
which didn't need the water, you might say.
Exactly. They had enough culinary wells up there that they could continue to water livestock through those wells. But then also the proliferation of windmills started up there too.
Yeah.
So now there's no actual cultivation or farming with irrigation. There is some dry farm going on a little bit up there, but it's mainly just a big cattle operation.
Wow, interesting. So
we're about to go to break.
We are, yeah. We got Randy Quigley with us, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about your video and how people can get it.
It's documentary. It's a documentary, Kelly.
Okay.
What's this with a video? It's like Randy. He's rapping. That's his water rap.
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
Hello.
All right, we'll be right back here on Top Story. We are back. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. Kind of have a history lesson going here. A documentary on the history of pumping water. Actually, is what it boils down. We're going to get back to Randy Quigley here in just a second, and Jill.
It's called Looking Back at the Snake River Plateaus.
All right, very good.
So there you go.
We'll get back to that in just a second. But first, I have to say, yesterday's $100 instant winning name. And the word of the day brought to you, of course, by the Happy Landing Restaurant.
Yes.
I went out there yesterday for lunch.
Did you have pie?
No, I didn't.
You were supposed to report on the pie.
I still have a cracked tooth, and I have to watch what I eat, although pie
would be way
have been
softer
a good
than
choice.
any. What else did you have?
Yeah, I had a bowl of chicken noodle soup.
And you were able
a
to eat
side
that?
order of tater tots. And boy, that soup was tremendous. Homemade noodles.
Homemade noodles?
Yeah, at the Happy Landing Restaurant.
They're doing homemade noodles at the Happy Landing
Absolutely.
Restaurant?
I told you.
Randy, did you know this? You need to put this in your historical video.
That's not history. It's
movie,
today.
remember?
Yeah, exactly.
But at any rate, head for the Happy Landing Restaurant at the
that's
Twin Falls
awesome.
Airport, and they'll treat you right.
Are people coming in?
Yes, they are. Of course they are.
Telling them that Joe and Kelly sent them?
Of course
They're
they
giving
are.
out pie right and left?
Oh, man, I tell you, they can't hardly keep it in stock. They're making those pies. Well, I think they had to hire about 15 people just to make pies.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the word of the day?
Okay, the winning name for today is Patricia Stewart.
Patricia Stewart, congratulations.
And the $100 word of the day is north.
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 I think kind of like North Pole, Only it's just half of that. It's north.
Tomorrow might be pole. What do you want to bet?
I don't know. Might be. Go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on Word of the Day. Type in North, North. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, $100 will be coming your way.
Easy. Mm-hmm.
I like my little poem, but nobody ever, recognizes it. That's all right. I'll point it out.
Your little what?
My poem.
What poem?
If you go to our website. Oh, never mind. I forgot it now. Randy Quigley is with us this morning.
This is what I'm dealing with, Randy. It's like the Alzheimer's hour.
Okay.
Where am I?
The documentary. What's the documentary called?
It's called Looking Back at the Plateaus of the Snake River.
Okay. Now, this is being played on local media, right?
Yeah. Chris Pruitt at KMVT, I approached him about showing this documentary, and he was just so gracious. He said, well, not only KMVT will put it on Fox 14 and the CW.
Oh, my goodness.
11.2.
Pinch yourself, huh?
Yeah, pat myself on the back.
There you go.
It's awesome. When's it going to be airing?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
I had to put that plug in so that your intro of me this morning would work. So it started yesterday on Fox 14, and doggone it, my debut was interrupted by Obama's speech.
Oh.
So those people,
Is that poetic justice or what, Randy?
Well, maybe for you, but not for me.
Yeah.
Oh, for crying
That's hilarious.
He always interrupts the interesting stuff.
There you go.
Is it going to run again?
Yes, thank goodness.
You.
Okay, so on KMVT, it's going to run on the 24th at 11:30 in the morning, and then on Christmas Day at 5:30 in the morning. So those that are just still waiting for the kids to get up can still catch this interesting documentary.
Those who are still serving cookies to Santa.
Yes.
Is it going to run on Fox again?
Yes, it will run on Fox. I got one more shot for KMVT, and this is the prime time on the 27th, 6 p.m.
Oh.
So then on
Saturday night,
Fox 14, it will run on the 24th at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then Christmas Day at 6 a.m. So almost a double shot there. And then the 27th at 1 p.m.
Which one are you going to be watching?
Well, I'm gonna TiVo all of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the CW.
You're not awake.
Now the CW you can only get over the air or on Cable One because it doesn't come through the satellite networks.
Right.
But that's being shown on the 21st at noon and on the 23rd at 1 o'clock.
Well, very interesting.
Are these written down somewhere so folks can refer to them?
I have a copy of these for you.
Randy,
you can post it on your website, Kelly.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a caller here. Tom Story, you're on the air with Randy Quigley. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, kids. Burley Guy, how you doing?
Burley Guy, where have you been? How are you?
Good. I've been froze up. I just wanted to comment. I've worked on these lift stations out here to Declo, and they are an amazing project. When they was built, it was just a kind of astronomical task of what they did, and this area would be dead without it. But more than that, I wanted to comment on Obama interrupting his show. He probably lost 2 people.
Oh, Burley Guy.
Burley Guy, it's really amazing because after Obama was done, which burned up 25 minutes of my 1-hour video, I still had 4 people comment that after it was over, they watched the video and loved it. So there are those diehard conservatives that still want to see, progress made.
Which means they probably watched the president then.
Well, they were forced to. But hey, it was Cuba, so it was somewhat
You're lucky
interesting.
they didn't turn it off.
Well, what I thought was interesting about President Obama's speech is his arm got longer as the speech got longer, patting himself on the back. Yes. And if you took eye out of his speech, it was almost empty. So that's my critique.
Randy. Hey, you've been patting yourself on the back, and very well deserved.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you for talking about your documentary. And
thank you.
And I will try to post these times on our website.
Thank you so much. And we'll miss you, Kelly, when you
sir.
retire.
Well, thank you very much.
Randy,
I appreciate
thanks for
that.
coming on.
It's nice to be missed.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you all.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. And I know I talk all the time about the folks at Far More of Idaho, but it's just because they've got so much interesting stuff. They've got Certiset, which is a new way to irrigate, actually. It's a flexible pipe that goes out in your field. You never have to pull it out. They have attachments on your equipment that lift it up and set it over, so it's never in your way. So you can water right up to almost time to harvest. And when you get done harvesting, it's still there, and you just turn on the water again. It's the darndest thing.
It's amazing how that works.
It is, and they can tell you all about it at Far More of Idaho, 324-3341. It's called Certiset, and farmoreofidaho.com is their website, so that's the place. All right, I just want to mention again, Randy went over those times for real quickly for showing the documentary on the high lift pump. What was the name of that?
This is what is the official name, Looking Back at the Snake River Plateaus, a historical look at high lift irrigation, including the closure of Bell Rapids.
You know, I never even asked him. Apparently these are for sale also, because we've got
Nice.
a video here that's wrapped up. And
Randy, where is it sold at?
well, you know what? I'm thinking I'll just put his email on our website, and they can email him and ask him about that. I'm assuming that'll be okay.
Well,
But no, I mean, it'd be for history buffs, it'd be a great stocking
people
stuffer.
love this
Yeah.
stuff. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
So there you go.
Let's try to help Randy sell his little video,
And he's
aka
probably
documentary.
in the phone book. I don't know if he's in the phone book or not. I guess you can try. I don't know if anybody's in the phone book anymore, but
We are.
We still get those things that come to our mailbox 3 or
We
4
still have a
times a year.
landline. We still have a landline.
Yeah, so but
I
they're
can't
getting
get rid of it.
smaller and smaller.
Wow.
But at any rate, anyway, wanted to talk a little bit, because it was pretty newsworthy of President Obama's deal yesterday of normalizing relations with Cuba, getting some bipartisan resistance on Capitol Hill. Not only the Republicans, but also the Democrats. A lot of people are saying, "Hey, this is a good thing. This is a great idea to lift the embargo on Cuba, normalize relations." It still has to go through Congress.
But I almost think that,
somebody forgot to tell the president that, but it does still have to go through Congress.
well, you do whatever it's got to go through. But I mean, I really kind of think it was initiated by Pope Francis, which has been interesting.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Probably
you know?
was. I didn't realize he was the U.S. ambassador to Cuba, but I guess apparently he is that.
Well,
now.
he was talking to the Cuba's president, Raul Castro, and talked to the president. And so, sometimes this is how it does. I mean, we've done stuff with tear down the wall, and we've done Russia, we're with, Gorbachev. And so, maybe it's time to have an embassy there. Maybe it's time to have more people visit their family. Maybe,
Well, if it's time to cozy up with more dictators, then hey, bring it on. I guess we're going to have it. And people are wondering, well, why was President Obama so quick to try to do this with a communist dictatorship? Is what it is, 90 miles off the coast of Florida. And, I was kind of racking my brain. Why would he do this? Why would he do this? And then it's like, well, wait a minute. These guys stick together. I mean, dictators stick together.
For gosh sakes.
It makes perfect sense to me
Oh,
now.
of course.
Even though we get back a guy who was setting up the internet in Cuba for 3 spies. One of them, we send these 3 spies back. One of them was convicted of conspiring to shoot planes out of the sky that were flown by American pilots. So did we get a fair trade? No, I don't think so.
Well,
I
also
think
they were
we got
releasing-
screwed, blued, and tattooed.
They were
on
also
this deal.
releasing 53 prisoners as well.
In Cuba,
yeah.
political prisoners.
Right,
I mean,
so-
they're just re-releasing them to
But,
the,
you know,
to the
at some
population.
point,
That wasn't even our deal.
But at some point, you sit there and wonder, has our arrangement with Cuba been, what was the effect of what? What? The people are suffering. Families are not
because
seeing
of
their
their
families.
government, not ours.
Yeah, so we were the ones who put the embargo on. So you know what? Do you never have any kind of talks?
See,
Do
now
we never?
the United States, and thanks to the president, the United States is getting the blame now for all the depressing the people of Cuba all these years. Dirty, rotten, stinking United States of America does it again, you know? It just makes me sick. Our president never defends us. Whenever he gets a chance, he's the one who tears us apart, and he did it again. I don't know. It is just amazing
Pope Francis,
to me.
too, you know? I mean, it was
a
year and a half in the making, and, you know, at some point you sit there and you go,
so what do you think?
Maybe we should have an embassy there.
7360300. Top story, you're on the air.
Yes. How do I win lunch with you guys?
What?
How do you win lunch with you guys?
Well, unfortunately, you can't.
I'm willing to fly in from New Jersey for this.
Hey, if you want to fly in we'll just go to lunch with you.
Wait, is this my cousin Eggs?
Yes, it is.
You sound different today, Eggs. Do you have a cold?
Yeah, it was a late night.
Oh, okay. I'm like, that doesn't sound. So, Cousin Iggy, how are you?
I'm good, guys. I wanted to say, goodbye to Kelly. I've enjoyed listening to him.
Thank you, sir.
Nice.
But I do have a comment on the Cuba situation.
Okay, hang tight. We're going to go to a break. Can you hold for 3 minutes?
Sure.
Hang on, Eggs.
All right.
Okay.
Stand by. We'll be right back here on Top Story with Jill's cousin. Cousin? Is it cousin?
Cousin Iggy.
Cousin Iggy. There you go. Okay, we'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call always here on Top Story. And we have a rare treat, ladies and gentlemen. We have one of Jill Scheme's many relatives on the line.
I don't have that many relatives.
Cousin Iggy from New Jersey.
My first cousin. Hi, Eggs. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, I didn't recognize you at first. You sound a little foggy. But anyway, thanks for calling. So what did you want to make a point on?
So the big story out here this morning is that with the open relations with Cuba now, in 1973 there was a shootout on the New Jersey Turnpike between the Black Liberation Army and New Jersey State Troopers, and one of the militants was a woman named Joanne Chesimard. And she was captured and sent to prison. She then escaped from prison, and she's been living in asylum in Cuba for the last 30 years. So everyone wants to know whether she's going to be extradited back to New Jersey for the trial. I don't know if that story's made it back out to where you are.
As a matter of fact, I keep Fox News up on the TV here, and I saw that name up on the screen here a little while ago with a picture of a state trooper next to it. So I wasn't able to hear it because we were doing the show.
What do you think should happen, Iggs?
I think she should be sent back for the trial.
It'll be interesting to see if we can get her, but
yeah. So she's apparently number one on the FBI's most wanted list.
Wow.
So I don't, it's something you may not know out there, but out here it's very, very big news. So I just wanted to chime in and let you know about that.
Did Governor Christie weigh in on it?
No, the governor, the big governor, has not weighed in on it yet.
How did you feel about him being in the box for the Dallas Cowboys?
I hate it.
What's up with him?
I'm a Giants fan. We're all Giants fans in North Jersey. I can't even comment on it. It's terrible. It's gonna cost him in the end. Believe me.
It's got a 6-second delay. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked, and he says he's a lifelong Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, he wants the Texas money in case he runs for. Hey, one other question about Governor Christie. How about the veto of the pig cages out there? How did that go over?
Of the pig cages?
Yeah, didn't you hear that? That these poor little pigs can't even turn around. They actually go insane. And they were going to enlarge enough or ban those small cages, but because Iowa has 200,000 pig farmers as opposed to like 95,000 pigs in New Jersey, he vetoed it. You didn't hear about that?
No, see, I'm still trying to get up on all this agricultural stuff like honey loaders. I'm way behind that.
I know. And we appreciate you listening, Eggs. Happy Hanukkah.
Okay.
Hey, it was good to talk to you.
Yeah, great talking to you. I really enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
Take care, Kelly.
Thanks, Iggs. Love you.
All right. Cousin Iggy.
I know. He's my first cousin.
Yeah.
Love Cousin Iggy.
In where at New Jersey?
Right now he's in, I think it's called Pennington.
Oh, okay.
Pennington, New Jersey.
Well, it was nice getting to know
It was
even
nice,
on a small scale.
He started
doesn't
listening, and then he really likes the show. And when he was home working in his office, he would listen, and we've heard him on from time to time. So
Wow.
yeah, it's kind of funny. It's nice.
Yeah, that is.
It's nice I get to catch up with my relatives on air.
I know, all over the world. I mean, you got relatives in Israel, right?
I do, actually, yes. It was my cousin Arnon's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday, Arnon.
It's no wonder you have no moss on you, being the Rolling Stone that you are.
The true wandering Jew.
You really
are. I think I am.
You
I've
really
lived in many places, Cal. Many, many, many places.
Well, anyway, and if they can, hey, I know there are going to be. It's good that Mr. Gross now gets to come back home. He was the guy that we traded. We also traded for there was a Cuban national, I guess, who was caught in Cuba 20 years ago spying for the United States. I guess that was also in the trade because American officials didn't want it to just be about Mr. Gross, who was there working for an American organization trying to get the internet put into Cuba. I mean, he's the one that is getting all the headlines, but there's this other spy, essentially, that we're getting back also.
Well, and they felt like Mr. Gross also was going to die in captivity, that his health, and they said if that happened, this whole thing was off. So.
And I don't think nobody looks down on them for that. That's a good thing. But the overall value to the United States, I mean, I guess if there is a huge value here, a lot of the cigar smokers will appreciate being able to get a few of those Cuban cigars.
Wow.
That's really the only value I see in this.
Well, there's a lot of actually no. I mean, there's a lot of people
legitimizing another dictatorship government.
But there's a lot of people, especially in Miami, that have relatives in Cuba that they're now going to be able to visit, and
a lot of them are upset too.
Well, I don't know if the ones who still have families over there and they are able to send money are able to send money to their families now. So, you know what?
A little bit more. They can't just send as
I
much
know,
as they want.
but,
it's just a little bit more.
But, when you're in that situation, at some point, 53 years, do you deal with it? Do we not? Look what we did with Russia in the Cold War.
I just poked down on the button here to take a phone call, but I just look at the time, and we're 30
quick,
seconds
maybe
away.
Quick. You got 30 seconds, buddy.
Top story. You got 5 seconds.
Hey, Shelly, now they can open that border, and now instead of swimming over, they can fly over.
Yeah, apparently so.
It's probably a lot easier.
They can't do it yet because Congress still has to say so, and I don't think Congress is going to say so. But I don't think anybody told the president that when he started doing this. But that hasn't made any difference.
That was a year and a half he started.
Why would it matter now?
It.
Here's the Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed, Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, financial advisors. We haven't mentioned, their number is 736-6563. Almost got ahead of myself here.
That's right.
Also, here's another number for you, 933-2600. That's the number for Canyon Pond. If you're looking for something specific and you want to call around and see if they've got that, you could call them and talk to Dave and say, hey, have you got such and such? Because it's a pawn shop, and they just might have it.
You never know.
And if they don't have it today, they might have it tomorrow, because that's kind of how it works with pawn shops. Canyon Pawn is Twin Falls' newest and cleanest pawn shop.
I think it's safe to say.
I think it is,
without a doubt.
And if it's got your endorsement for being clean, we know it's got to be clean. Because you are the queen of clean, right?
I'm just a picky pants?
That's right, yeah. Guns, they got all sorts of guns. They got all sorts of camping stuff, woodworking.
Bicycles. Electric guitar.
Yeah.
Really some cool stuff.
They really do.
Old-fashioned camera.
That's right. Yep. Anything you can imagine. It's a pawn shop. They're on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota on 3rd Avenue South, and they can help you out. I wanted to mention, too, if you heard Randy Quigley on a little bit earlier, he kind of necessarily so, he had to go through the times that KMVT, KSVT, and CW are showing the documentary on water pumping here. What's the name of it again?
It's called Looking Back at the Snake River Plateau,
yeah.
A historical look at high-lift irrigation, including the closure of Bell Rapids.
And it's on a DVD, so for local historians, local history buffs, it'd be a great stocking stuffer.
Oh, yeah.
And his website is on that DVD that he gave us, so I will put that on our website soon, as soon as I can get in there and get it uploaded. For top story.
Here's his website,
right.
lookingbackthemovie.com.
lookingbackthemovie.com. So if you want to go there and buy one of these DVDs, it's $19.99 plus $5 shipping. So that's $24.99. Cheap at twice the price. Some great history there. Great stocking stuff. A great gift.
And it's family friendly.
And it is.
It's not rated.
Not rated?
That's what he says.
All right. Very good. So there you go.
You could all watch it Christmas night.
Yes, indeed. Well, hey, looks like we're done for the day. Man, got some stuff to do. I'm going to try to get that. I'm going to get that posted. I'm going to get the video here posted. You can see my new hat from the Twin Falls Police Department that Staff Sergeant Dennis Pullen brought in to me.
So if Kelly tries to pull you over, people, he doesn't have a badge. Just has a hat. It's just a hat.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't fall for this.
We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.